Hello everybody and welcome back to Encounter Roleplay. My name is Will and we're here today for the finale of Kult Divinity Lost on what is no doubt to be a very climactic couple of hours here as we've got a lot of threads coming to their end that we're going to have to wrap up here. So we're going to see how this goes for our merry band of investigators. So let's go around the cast and crew, remind ourselves of who we are and who we're going to be playing today. Let's start with Charlie. How you doing today, Charlie?
I'm doing very well, Will. I am super excited that we're finally going to be playing this finale as we dive towards that museum of memories. Is that what we were calling it? It was something like that.
Yeah.
I'm going to be playing Jolene, who is the doll who has found herself in all kinds of trouble and continues to find new ways to be the bait in all situations.
Fantastic stuff. And of course we have Lindy back with us today. Lindy, how's it going?
Doing super spiffy. I am in my new place. I don't have to deal with moving stuff anymore. I can take my sweet time unpacking everything.
Oh.
It's such a relief. And so we're gonna do a stressful cult finale with Cassie Sue, in which I last remember being stuck in a dream. So I'm sure everything will be fine when I wake up. Sure be great.
That's still where you are. And maybe it's for the best. For now. We'll see. Tom, how's it going today?
Yeah, not bad, thanks, not bad. Unlike Lindy, I will be packing things because I'm going away to a weekend LARP. So I'll be packing myself a lot of things tomorrow and then driving on a bank holiday Friday up the M5 and 6. Fuck. But I'm very excited to play here, come back for Kult to finish everything off. And basically, I'll be playing Thomas, who is kind of like its own archetype, the Fallen that I created. And I just want his memories back. I want to know what happened 10 years prior, That's
I know there's a good place to go for that. It's a whole museum of these things. But actually, sometimes knowing the truth of your past is a little worse than not knowing, as Pruitt here knows. Pruitt, how's it going, my friend?
It's going great, and you do speak the truth, my friend. Knowing sometimes is worse, because it unmakes everything that you thought you knew. So that's where we find Percival Randolph Stewart III, as he grapples with just how he should end this, because there's one thing that is for certain: he will go out on his terms. And so I can't wait to see what that looks like. Back to you, Will.
Fantastic stuff. Can't wait to see what happens. This one's been brewing for a while. And of course, we have Sam back with us tonight. Sam, how's it going, my friend? You are muted, my friend.
Here!
There he is.
Yeah, I was just, muting myself because of the lovely conversation we had before the game. But that's, like Conan said, that's another story. I'll be playing a criminal today, just like every day in a game. Yeah, that. I'm really looking forward to see the end of this thing, see where everybody will... What we will find on the Museum of Memories, especially. I'm sure nothing terrifying or earth-shattering could happen to this cast of good, productive members of society. I'll be playing Vincent Helsebeck, and hopefully I will survive today.
We'll see. I'm looking at a page full of notes of just good things that are going to happen to you guys, and may occur. So. It's going to be fine. Before we get started today, before we get a recap of where we are in the story to head into our finale, I'm ready, guys. We have called sponsored here today by Kult Divinity Lost. If you haven't yet gone and checked out this game, you really need to. It's a really, really fun, powered by the Apocalypse game, using D10s rather than D6s, and we've been having a whole load of fun with it. If you like modern day crazy horror, then Kult Divinity Lost is definitely the game for you. So check it out on their website, check it out on Modifius.net, search for Kult, and you'll find all of their awesome range of products on their website there. What else? Of course, our regular sponsors include FancyGrounds.com, our virtual tabletop of choice. So go check that out before Unity comes out. WhenAGames.co.uk is a go-to destination for tabletop board games, war games, and more. And last, but by no means least, we hit 20 retweets on our live tweet for today. We'll give away a set of dice from Tabletop Loot, our sponsors over there. So check out tabletoploot.com for some awesome dice. Of course, you guys can affect the game today by giving players nat 1s, nat 20s, wild magic surges, and so much worse. These guys already have a long list of useful and weird items, and wild magic is veritably coursing through their veins right now, and some of which will be very important in today's finale, as some of us know. But for a recap of what's been going on in Kult right now, they are in a alternate world known as Elysium, and they found themselves here to try and stop Mr. Magnolia and Miss Rita, two of their nemesis, from ascending to this throne. Last week, we'd found out something about Percival and Cassie's past, but Cassie was still locked away in a dream, and so the rest of the party decided to go and have a little conversation with the Inheritor to try and get back some of the items that had been lost upon their entrance to Elysium. And they managed to get most of their items back by striking various different agreements with the old antique dealer that we know to be a little more than just an antique dealer, known as the Inheritor. Lots of private conversations were held. Some agreements were made. Perhaps some promises will have to be kept when they go to the Museum of Memories, which is their next destination. This is a museum which houses memories of everyone who's ever entered into Elysium, and they're formed down into these memory stones. And the Inheritor asked for a couple of people to go looking for some specific memory stones to give to him. But also they are there looking for either one of Mr. Magnolia or Miss Rita's memories, so that they can find a way to the Queen and to try and stop this whole madness from happening. We ended, I believe, with the party deciding to head off to the museum, but we're going to have to go back and grab Cassie because she's still asleep at Daisylus's headquarters. Having a really nice dream in an antique store, as it happens. So I guess let's pick up there. I think you guys are still, if I remember correctly, and I probably don't, you were still on the streets and not back at HQ with Daedalus at this point?
Yeah, we were
maybe we could
just outside the store, having spoken to the Inheritor about the watch and stuff, and then we'd come back out. We were going to go to the memory place, but I think we were going to stop back on the way, right?
Yeah, let's go rouse Katasu.
All right, well, as you guys head away from the antique store, from the Inheritor's place, you head back through the glowing green streets of Elysium, and once again, the strangeness of your surroundings strikes you. And of course, you occasionally see figures, the true inhabitants of this place, shadowy, dark figures that can run us up to 7 or 8 foot tall, that seem spindly and large, disjointed arms and legs that are always just out of the corner of your eye whenever you're walking along these paved, cobbled streets. Eventually you return to the little, more a warehouse, little bunker, I suppose, on a side street where Daedalus has been keeping you guys. You see a little light on inside. You guys head back in. Daedalus is there, and around this time, Cassie, you're waking up from this dream. Feels like you've been out for a very long time.
We'll wait out here, Percy, while you go get Cassie Sue. Okay?
Yeah, we'll.
Yeah,
do it.
yeah.
I'm gonna go get a
do your
drink,
thing.
and he's gonna go and see if he can grab a drink. Water.
And Percy will just be kind of in the doorway, hall light on behind him. So he has a nice little backlight silhouetted in the face when she wakes up.
She wakes up and then sees like that's immediately next to her in like a moment where she's like, and then she rolls over, sees Percy standing ominously in the hallway. Oh, Percy, baby, there you are. How long was I asleep for?
Not nearly as long as I, my dear. It's time to wake up.
Kind of scoot to the edge of the bed, kind of get up, like, all right, well, where's everybody else?
Oh, they're downstairs. We've been out doing a bit of investigating while you had your convalescence, and we're ready to head down to a very particular museum. I think you'll find it very interesting. I know I certainly will.
Oh, museum. We do enjoy our antiques. Does it have a name? This is a mighty peculiar place.
Oh, that it does, my dear. It is the Museum of Memories, where all kinds of memories are stored. It's a shame that you were asleep. We just had a visit with at an antique store. I wanted to bring you, but you seem really out of it.
It's like I just couldn't wake up. Kind of like, what is it, that sleep paralysis or whatever you call it?
Yeah.
Couldn't get up.
Well, perhaps it's time that you did. And he walks over to hand her her dress.
Mm-hmm. She'll get up, put it on, kind of looking a bit curiously at him as he is definitely in a mood. She knows him better than most people. She goes, "My dear, is everything all right? You seem a bit."
Well, I mean, you tell me.
Has anyone made you a cup of coffee this morning?
Actually, no, they haven't. They don't know how to make it, and frankly, neither do I. I just know how I like it. So I don't know what I would do without you. You've always been there for me, Cassie Sue. My best interest at heart.
I don't know what I would do without you either, Percy.
Oh, I'm sure you'd find someone.
Percy, you mean more to me than anyone else in the world.
What about the other two? My dear Cassie Sue, you know me better than anyone. So, you know I'm an intelligent man. Of a sort.
Oh,
so you insulting that intelligence?
No, honey, you are a brilliant mind. Are you referring to the two exes that I had once upon a time?
Yeah. The very same.
They're deceased, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
They seemed like nice enough people, but
that they do. Yeah.
I don't think they could handle what you can handle, Percy.
Well, I'm not sure I can either. Had a very interesting conversation. We should talk about it more when we get down to the Memory Museum. You should get dressed and get ready. I'm gonna get downstairs. Put a pot of coffee on.
I'll get that for you, dear. Don't worry about it.
Of course. And Percy steps out and heads to Daedalus's room.
Okay. You step inside Daedalus. You go make a cup of coffee. Daedalus looks up. He's there in his long coat, and he looks like he's sort of getting ready to head out with you guys. He's putting something into one of the deep pockets in his coat. Hey, what's up? Cassie, wake
Mr.
up.
Daly. Oh yeah, she did finally wake up. Bit drowsy, a bit slow, but she'll get there. She always does. I have a bit of a proposition for you if you're interested, my man.
I guess.
Now, your loyalties are pretty firm with your patron, yes?
I'd say so.
That's very good. Now, and Percy kind of like opens, he's wearing like a jacket right now, and he kind of opens it a bit to kind of reveal the handle of his own like golden gun, kind of resting awkwardly in the inside pocket.
Mm-hmm. He raises an eyebrow.
Now, understand that you are a collector of certain types of hardware. Does anything like that look familiar?
I've seen something like that before, I guess you could say, yeah.
How would you characterize these types of items? Are they pretty similar in make and model and abilities?
Well, legend has it that they're all a set. Almost identical. They're twins.
How would you like to trade for just a short time?
He kind of furrows his brow. Trade. Now, why would I do something like that?
Well, you are loyal to your patron, and you want to see them instilled where they should be at the end of all this, correct?
I want to make sure that really no one sits on that throne.
Well,
I don't think it's a good idea.
either way, getting one of the, shall we say, participants in this rather sick race out of the race increases the odds of no one sitting in that throne. If there was one less person to sit in that throne.
I suppose that's right. Yeah. But how does this have anything to do with switching the guns?
Well, I can't really harm anyone with this one, at least the person I'd like to. But if I had that one, well, then I could.
Ah. Does this have something to do with the inheritor?
Oh, I never said that, you did.
Huh. So you can't use that one. And then he puts it together. Huh. But, and he looks at you in the eyes, you'd be willing to betray him?
Well, let's just say, with certain events being what they are as of late, certain revelations, apparently it was never my choice, so...
Oh. Well, in that case, I guess I'll just have to trust you.
You could always kill me later. I mean, I am just a mortal.
He nods as if that's a very real possibility. Okay.
I mean, I know my place in all this. I am merely a small player, but given the right circumstances and the right gear, shall we say, and he kind of like looks down at this rotting mummy of a hand that kind of hangs off his belt. Perhaps I can play a bigger part.
Huh. He looks at it as well. Maybe you can. Alright. He goes into his jacket pocket and brings out an identical golden gun to the one that you carry and sort of puts it down on the table, slides it across.
And Percy like takes his out with like a loving glance, and you see a tear kind of roll down his cheek as he slides his gun across, knowing the love that he is pushing away, almost symbolically, before he has to possibly do it again. And he picks up the other golden gun and replaces it, and turns around and then looks back at the one sitting on the table one last time. Farewell. And he walks out of the room.
Okay. You come out into the kitchen where Cassie Sue is making coffee.
Oh. Well, that's just right. Well done, my dear, as always.
I do try. Percy, I hope you know that, I mean, all this has been so crazy that's happening, but I would never do anything to hurt you.
Oh, I know that, my dear.
Especially after all these years.
Yes, it's been quite a few.
So,
Thanks for the
museum,
coffee.
How did you sleep, Cassie Sue?
it was a very deep sleep. I had a bit of a trouble waking up out of it, but here I am. I got there.
Do you have like any dreams?
Nothing really that I can
No.
recall. No.
Okay.
No. Just kind of weird throne stuff like we've been seeing.
I mean, that's no surprise considering where we are and what we've seen and everything.
That's what I figured.
Yeah.
So many people want that thing.
Anyway, let's get going.
Okay. You head back outside, join the rest of the team, and Daedalus joins you to head to the Museum of Memories. Now, knowing where it is, thanks to the Inheritors' little map and guidance, you walk for maybe about 20 minutes or so until you see looming before you with the sort of marble arch, quite imposing looking large museum, similar, I guess, in design to Pantheon, but much larger, and hewn out of this sort of light green marble-like material, giving it quite an eldritch and off-putting look. It doesn't look as though it's a kind of building you would like to enter. It's quite dread and foreboding. It doesn't appear as though they're really open to visitors either. That being said, the steps leading up to it are completely empty, aside from the rain which is coming from above. And it appears as though there are a set of open doors which lead into, from this point, what looks like just darkness. You can't see any lights on inside. And Daedalus sort of looks up and says, well, I think that's your, that's the museum. I don't know how you want to approach this. There might be another way in if you don't want to head in through the front doors.
I mean, do they have like guards? I mean, are people allowed in?
As I understand it, you're free to enter, but not everyone comes out, so there might be something in there.
Let's look for an
Hotel
alternative.
California?
Is it? I don't know. Is that a
Maybe
reference
it's
to something?
Steps.
Yeah,
Okay.
let's go. Yeah, and Thomas climbs after Percy, he's very eager, so he's taking like 2 steps at a time.
So Vincent is trying to look around to see if there's an alternative way into the museum.
You could roll me a perception.
Sure. Where's that perception? Oh, there we go. Huh, that went well.
Ooh, very nice. Yeah, you actually spot on the side of a building what looks like may usually be used as like a workers' entrance, or where their museum workers might bring things in and out. Although you don't see any workers here, there is definitely a side entrance on the right-hand side of the building that you could enter through.
So Vincent is going to look at everybody and smile and say, "So, we split the party, right?"
Yeah, you can. I think Tom and Percy have began to walk up the steps, but they're still within earshot.
If any one of you ladies would like to come with me to the... And he's going to point to the other entrance.
I think I'll be going with Percy, but Jolene, if you'd like to go with Mr. Vincent, it's up to you.
Sure. Mr. Daedalus, would you mind looking after Coco?
Who's Coco? Oh.
And she lifts the bucket with the coconut in.
Oh my.
I mean, I can, but if we get into a tight spot, I might have to drop the coconut there.
Well, we've all been in spots where we've had to drop the coconut. Just try and pick him up and keep him in one piece.
Okay. Sure.
Hopefully Coco wouldn't, kick the bucket while we are away.
Coconuts don't have legs.
Anyway, about that back entrance.
As far as we know. All right.
Halfway up, Thomas is going to look back and look at Jolene and kind of eagerly wave her to come up.
Oh, I guess we're all going in the front then.
Well, you're free to go. I'm fine working solo anyway. So.
Why are you so afraid of front doors, Vincent?
Well, me and front doors have a long story of. You see, when you are a wanted man by the law, you usually don't go in the front because there's this thing called security.
Well, we haven't stolen anything yet, and she's gonna hold out her hand to hold his and lead him up the stairs to go in the front door.
Vincent is going to look like the most surprised way, like his eyes wide open at the hand, and
we should stay together until we've seen the map or a guidebook tell us where things are.
But how about this? Just trust me on this one, okay? And I have to, look around and see if there's an escape. Yeah, an escape. A possible plan B, a fire escape or something from the Museum of Memory. This doesn't look like the place that would have a lot of fires, but I guess that if I was...
It doesn't look up to health and safety regs. On a quick glance. When you're 19 perception, you'd say that this place has probably got a few violations.
Vincent is trying to make a poorly excuse to actually get to the other door.
Yeah, it seems like Vincent is having a really hard time agreeing to head through the front door.
Yeah, exactly. So just trust me on this one, okay? Okay. I'll see you guys inside. I'll keep an eye in case we are overrun by coconuts or something. You never know in this place called Elysium. Everything could happen. It's like Disneyland or something, just on the wrong side.
Everyone's at the top of the stairs, and Vincent is still moving towards the slide door as he's speaking.
So,
he's backwards talking. Coconuts could happen, and I'm just gonna go in for here.
So Vincent finally says bye and makes a run to the back door.
Okay. No one's trying to really stop Vincent here any further than they've already tried. Okay.
I
I'll give him a little wave.
Yeah, I'll give him a wave. Thomas is a little confused and he scratches his head, but hey, Vincent knows how to break into places. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah, he's a rogue. He's a man of his own. He'll guard our flank. Don't worry about it.
Exactly in the same moment when when Percival says that, Vincent kind of stumbles on the floor. It's like, oh, it's fine, everybody, it's fine, I'm fine, I'm alive. You're right back.
If nothing, and then Percy just whispers to everyone, if nothing else, he'll be a distraction. They'll go after him, and then we can get what we need and get out.
Vincent is
I've never
definitely that
seen
guy
him
in the
so
horror
nervous.
movie right now.
Now go over here,
well.
I'll be right back.
He was kind of that nervous when my husband was around, but that made sense.
I think he's just got a nervous disposition.
I just don't think he likes front doors.
Well,
Could have some kind of
Go ahead.
psychological problem
Mhm.
with it. No,
To each their own, Thomas. You shouldn't judge people for their preferences.
Oh, I don't.
All right, now shall
I
we go?
don't.
Now,
To the library or the museum. Excuse me.
we can go to the library first if you want, and then we can do this whole thing again. The four of you, with Daedalus, head in through the front door while Vincent goes round the side and was never seen again. Now, okay, he'll be fine. He'll be fine. So yeah, you head inside and. Or rather, you head at least to the door, I'll give you this. You head to the door and you peer in and you see what can only be unnatural darkness. There are no lights inside, but still it feels far darker than any dark room you've seen. Usually, if you peer in for a couple of minutes, your eyes will adjust a little bit and you can at least make out the rough edges of where objects might be in the room as your eyes adapt. But here, maybe you spend a couple of minutes just looking in, seeing if you can get a feel for, is there a corridor ahead of us? Is there, a door a couple of feet ahead? You cannot make out any of even the rough shapes, which leads you to think that something about this museum is entirely unnatural. It does remind you of being down in Mr. Magnolia's underground sort of bunker that he had there, and that room with the host of sort of dark figures that were pulling their way along the walls. It's that level of darkness again, and it sends a bit of a chill along your spine. How do you guys proceed?
Do we have torches?
You would have torches, yeah.
Turn it on and have a look inside. Does it provide any light whatsoever, or is the darkness absorbing the light? So it's like.
Yeah, when you flick the light on, it's as though for a moment you see a shed of light, and then it's as though the darkness eats away at the light, and then the battery or the torch just dies in your hand. Basically, it sort of flickers for a moment. You give it a bit of a slap to see if something's out of place, but it stops working.
Will. This is a little bit of a stretch with the bound thing, but I did roll 15, so I get 3 things today. And one of the things is disperse a magic targeting me. So if I were internally ask the inheritor, could you please vanquish this darkness so we may complete the task for which we'll complete our deals more quickly?
Yeah.
So he's just gonna mumble into himself a little bit.
Yeah. You find that that answer coming up in your mind again. It's something in the past you never realized was this sort of power that you had. You thought of it more as an intuition or a sixth sense, but now you realize it's something being placed there in your mind by the inheritor. And you realize that the darkness is the path forwards, that only through entering into the darkness can you perceive things, memories that have been past, while the present is blind to you.
Everyone, if I am reading this correctly, this place, you just think on what you want to find and transverse the darkness, and you will find it. That is the way.
Right. Okay.
Only by being lost can you find what you need, or some other shit like that.
How peculiar.
It
Alright.
is a bit unusual, but I'm probably
It-
not surprised considering the place.
It is very on theme. It's on brand for sure.
Jolene, is there anything you want to find?
I had something I was interested in, but I have to say I've never really cared for the dark.
Do you want to go in with me? And he extends his hand. We can go find things together.
Jolene glances towards Mr. Daedalus and then Thomas and... Alright,
Okay.
let's go together.
He'll take her hand and then he'll kind of curious. I mean, he's got an expression of excitement, fear, curiosity, all of these emotions going through him, and he's stepping in very nervously and just looking around.
Cassie's
Okay.
going to turn to Percy and say, all right, my dear, then what is it that we are looking for?
My dear, we may now continue and perhaps conclude our conversation. Excuse me, from earlier. I want you to take me back. Take me back when you first made that deal with him. When you led that first lamb to the slaughter. And then as he says that and the recognition dawns on her face, he kind of grabs her hand and starts walking into the darkness as he's assuming that thought, that memory is blooming in her mind.
It's like watching a couple fight at a restaurant. It's great.
Oh, it's going to get more uncomfortable, trust me.
Okay, Percy and Cassie and Thomas and Jolene disappear into the darkness. Vincent, meanwhile, you've come in through the side door, and before you enter, you too have a similar sight before you of utter darkness, impenetrable by a torch or any light that you possess. How do you proceed?
Well, it isn't like the strangest thing I haven't seen lately, so I guess. So Vincent is trying, trying to concentrate, tapping his forehead, and the cube, the crystal with memories that inheritor dude wanted. Yeah, that's the thing. Where is it?
Okay.
And he's going to walk very cautiously, but still walking towards the darkness.
Okay. You all head into the darkness, each with a different goal or focus in mind. Thomas, what are you focusing on when you head into this darkness and all sight disappears from you?
He's focusing on what happened to him 10 years ago that made him forget everything. And he wants to know what happened and why. So that's what he's focusing on.
As you're holding on to Jolene's hand, dragging her along, the darkness closes in, and there's this moment of sudden fear when you realize that you're blind and one of your senses has been stripped from you. There's that moment of panic where you worry that maybe you'll never be able to see again when your control has been taken from you, robbed from you. You feel the hand slip away, but it's only a distant afterthought that you realize that the hand is no longer there, because what you begin focusing on becomes the sole object of your thought, of your consciousness. I'd like you to roll me a plus willpower. Sorry, a plus soul. Let me know what you... A 13.
13, sorry. Yeah.
So good. Thomas, there is a pressure which begins to weigh on part of your brain, and it feels like white math, like noise, like a jumbled mess of a cacophony of sound and voices all coming at you at once, as though it's pressing in from one side. It's incredibly distracting and threatens to overwhelm the thought that you're trying to get to, this memory that's been trapped away. But you press on, focusing on that time that you can barely remember, just echoes of that memory in your head, until you realize that you can open your eyes and see something before you. You're on a cloud, and you're amongst clouds. Everything around you is white. For a moment you thought it might have been snow, but you realize that you must be somewhere very high up indeed. More worryingly, you look and feel a different weight on your back and shoulders. And you look to see that you have wings. Great, angelic, heavenly wings on the back of yours. How do you react?
Thomas is gonna shot, and he's gonna actually start touching the wings, like seeing where they're connecting to him, how it all connects, and then he's gonna try and, move his shoulders to see if he has control over them.
You do. You feel your back sort of ripple, and the muscles on your back move to allow the muscles that you never knew were there, that you didn't realize you could use, move the wings and displace a huge chunk of air. There's a huge whoosh as your wings spread out, and you feel yourself moving from this cloud to the next.
I think Thomas is just going to enjoy himself then. I mean, he's probably still very confused, but he's just going to go around, try and just fly around, see what he can find, go up, down, spin around, just enjoy himself.
Yeah. It's like being in a very good dream on it. You have a little bit of control over, where you feel like you're writing the story as you're dreaming it and experiencing it, and it's rather intense in that unique way that dreams can be. And then you see another figure flying towards you, this one far larger, and as you realize the wings aren't quite as brilliantly sort of white and speckled as your own. These ones are sort of grayed, older, slightly more ruffled. A few feathers are missing here and there. It looks like this pair of wings and its owner are an older person. As they get closer, you can see their face. Something about this old man's face when he flies towards you strikes you as familiar. Something very strange about that. And it's that kind of feeling that you get when you're in a dream and you feel as though you know exactly who that person is, but they have a totally different face. You know that it's the person that you're thinking of, but they're in a totally different body. When you think of it, when you're out of the dream, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
But when you're in the dream, you don't question it at all. This looks like your sock puppet, Mr. Fibbles. The same sort of wide-set eyes, leering face, and a very uncomfortable, intense look on his face as he flies towards you and lands next to you. What does Thomas do?
He'll turn and look. Do I know you?
Ah, Thomas. I'm glad you managed to make it to our meeting today.
Meeting? What for?
I see I have a important matter to bring to your attention.
Okay.
You see, events on Elysium are coming to a head in about 10 years' time. And, well, I need an agent on Earth. Someone who can see things that others cannot, and be in places where others can't, so that when the coronation comes, I have an special agent. You understand? I need an ally I can trust, but not one here. Someone on Earth who can really affect things. Someone mortal.
Ooh, what are you asking of me?
I'm asking everything from you, Thomas. I'm asking for your divinity.
At that point, Thomas is kind of going to step back. No, you can't take that away from me. You can't make me those things down there.
Thomas, you forget. I made you. And I can strip away anything I want from you. Thomas, you forget our mission here is to ensure that someone reigns in Elysium, so that there is no veil between the worlds anymore. We are the architects of this design, of this maze. We have to make sacrifices for it. If not, then how do we know that anyone's even going to enter the race? I need someone there.
Then ask another. I mean, there are others. You can't ask me to do this. Don't ask me to do this.
But you are the one that I trust above all others, Thomas. You are the smartest. You're the strongest. There are no others. Not like you.
He'll pause for a moment, look down, and he'll look up. And as he looks up into Mr. Fibbles' eyes, you'll see that his eyes begin to kind of burn an amber, and he'll just go, no. And in his hands, he'll kind of bring down, and these kind of obsidian black kind of scythes come into his hand, and he just sprints forward to try and slice at Mr. Fibbles.
Yeah. As you move, his face turns into a sneer. You disappoint me, Thomas. And as you move in with the scythes, he casts them aside, and with a flick of his wrist, he kind of like slaps you, and the force of this strike along the scythes is enough to instantly crack them. And you see as they implode that there are just smoking ruins where they used to be, and your arms are burning. And he says, I will have my agent on Earth, Thomas. One way or another, I cast you down there. And as your hands are smoking, he reaches towards you again, and you see your wings burning. And you feel this intense agony as you begin to cook.
He'll be on his knees at this moment, and he'll start crawling as his wings burn and burn in his hands. He's like, no, you can't do this. I won't go down. I won't become one of them.
You forget, Thomas. You won't remember any of this. And then everything goes black, and you feel yourself falling. Falling and falling. And when you wake up, you're out of the vision. again, all is darkness around you, but you can feel the sort of familiar feel of being back in your own body. That sense that you've woken up from something. You're no longer in the dream or the memory.
Do I feel Jolene's hand?
You don't feel Jolene's hand, but you feel as though you could search for her.
Yeah, he'll have a look around, see if he can search for Jolene. He's can keep his eyes closed.
Mm-hmm. And even as you begin searching, it feels as though something has been changed within you. It feels as though there's a part of the puzzle which has always been missing, which is now there, and it's quite the revelation of actually biblical nature, in fact, to come to this realization that you were once here on Elysium. That is your true self, and your divinity was robbed from you. How does Thomas feel when he starts to think about that again?
At this moment, I feel that it's just pure anger. He is absolutely fuming. It's almost like the memories of Thomas, the person, have kind of just been burnt away from this intense realization of his angelic nature, and all that remains is just pure anger and fury of what was left. And he after a while, as he goes around, he stops for a moment and just stands there and listens. And as he opens his eyes begin to glow a bit more amber as they kind of, and he looks around and just starts wandering and trying to find a way out.
Okay. Jolene, at some point, Thomas's hand slipped from yours, and you too feel this sort of presence weighing on your mind, this cacophony of sound, as if 1,000, 1,000,000 people are trying to speak to you at the same time, and each tell you something incredibly important. Roll me a plus soul as you try to navigate through this.
D10 plus 2.
Yeah.
12.
Okay, you managed to press that away, put it to one side. What is Jolene thinking of? What is she looking for here?
I think to begin with, she's overwhelmed by the darkness, and it's that feeling of not knowing where the step is in the dark. So you want to put your hands out, you want to take the smallest steps. And in doing so, that's when she lost Thomas's hand, and she began to turn around, and it is like being back in that bunker, creeping towards the door where she knows her husband is. Only there's not even the dim light in here, there's no phone that she can reach for. And she's just focusing on almost reliving that moment as she's making that choice again, whether to go to the door or to attempt to make a break and run for the stairs. But she'd made a deal. And again, here she's made a deal. Her finger plays with that ring finger where the ring is no longer. And she takes a deep breath, and there's that wave of sounds as she closes her eyes, and she tries to just focus on one thing. That's what we were told, just focus on the thing that you want to find in the dark. And she tries to think of something good, and she tries to think of Coco or Mr. Daedalus or Thomas, but she keeps coming back to Joe every time because that's who she's afraid of in the dark. And the fear is kind of winning.
Mm-hmm. As that begins to overwhelm you, and the darkness all around you is incredibly oppressive, you feel your breathing, it begins to pick up its pace as that sort of panic begins to set in. And then you open your eyes and you can see. In the panic, you're hoping that maybe you could see again, and you can. But you're obviously no longer within the museum. Instead, you're in that chamber, that room that you saw that you shouldn't have seen those years before. It's your husband's office, although you're not really sure that the function of it really serves as an office very much anymore, though he was always very protective about you entering into that space. And what you see is, in fact, a sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Like a diorama, right? Of like scenery which has been made and created, like painstakingly handcrafted. Someone's spent a whole lot of time building out this very large scene, and it's a scene of a city, a diorama of a large city, and it almost reminds you of something that you might see in like ancient Rome, like a depiction of like a city plan almost. And as you look at it, you realize now that what you saw before hadn't made sense because it was a city you'd never comprehended before. The city is Elysium. It's green streets laid out before you. You can even spot, now looking at it, what must be the Museum of Memories. And beyond the museum, some way to the north, there is a palace which is hidden by or surrounded by what looks to be a hedge maze. I remember looking at these patterns and them having not made much sense. It's almost mesmerizing looking at these. And then you realize why. It's because the hedge maze diorama seems to be moving, twisting and contorting around itself, forever forming a different maze. It looks impossible to reach. But you realize that there is a small, painted on quite recently, it looks like. The paint is in fact still wet. What looks like a small tunnel running from the museum to the palace. And as you look upon that, your husband walks into the room. And Mr. Magnolia looks at you. There's a moment of shock on his face and says, "Joe, what the hell are you doing in here?"
I'm sorry, I heard a noise. I didn't mean to come in, Joe. I'll go right now.
Get the hell out of here. Now! And as he moves towards you and you turn and run into the darkness, you find yourself out of the memory or the dream, and in your hand you're clutching a small green stone. This must be the memory stone that the inheritor had mentioned before to you. Still darkness, but the bit of calm comes back to you now that you're out of that sort of nightmare.
And she looks down to that stone in her hand and kind of rolls it around her palm. Does it feel like smooth? Is there a temperature or anything to it?
It feels cool. Cooler than a normal stone. If it, it was cold, as though something it's been refrigerated or something like that.
Mm-hmm. And I think she'll bring it up and like squint at it on her palm in the dark, trying to see into it, trying to understand, is this just like a pebble, or is this actually, this is something magical? This is something that's actually a big deal.
It looks like one of Vincent's crystals. Actually, I guess you couldn't see it because there's still darkness all around you, but you can feel, it feels like one of those sort of like slightly jaggedy, rough-hewn like crystals. It doesn't feel like soft and smooth like a pebble. And it's definitely, about the size of your hand or so. So you've got a good, have to keep a good grip on it. It's kind of heavy as well.
And and I think she'll hold it kind of protectively against her body, not wanting to lose it in the dark, and then the other hand goes out in front of her, and she'll just continue to grope her way through this darkness, trying to find a wall, trying to find somewhere with a surface that she could just stop.
Okay. Let's cut over to Vincent. Vincent, you're alone in the darkness. And you know I'm going to ask you to roll plus soul.
Oh boy.
To try and strive your way through this museum of memories.
Plus soul. Here we go.
Oh, holy moly.
That went well.
Yeah. Vincent is more attuned to the spirit world, it would seem, than Thomas or even Jolene. Perhaps because he's been spending a lot of time with Crystal as of late. Maybe it's even tranquility that's with you that gives you that sort of peace of mind, the crystal that the Inheritor gave back to you. But either way, the cacophony dies down very quickly. It's as though, less so that you've put it out of mind, more so that the voices realize that you're not there to listen to them, that you're not there to speak with them or to see them. And upon realizing that, they fade back into obscurity. What is it that you're looking for, Vincent?
I'm looking for the crystal that the Inheritor sent me to retrieve.
Okay. And yes. Okay, so as you focus in on this, remind me which one it was that the Inheritor wanted from you. I've got several here.
I think it was the one from Mr. Percival.
Yeah, it was.
I submitted myself to the popular vote if I should steal that, because
that's right.
Yeah.
This is going to get interesting. So you press in through the darkness and seek this vision. And rather than playing the whole thing out, the scene which we played out a couple of weeks ago where Percy first realized what Cassie had done to him sort of plays out before you, where he and Cassie are sitting down and she sort of coerces him into this ritual that he thinks is going to be a good deal, or it doesn't seem like it's a real thing. He sort of goes into it not fully realizing what's happening, and you watch as Percival is fully bound against his will by the Inheritor, and then his memory is taken from him by Cassie Sue. And Vincent, once that vision finishes, you find yourself with a cool, jagged crystal in your hand, still darkness all around you can't see, but you've realized something about Cassie Sue and Percy that never quite made sense before. There was always something just a little bit strange about that whole situation that you couldn't quite put your finger on. And now knowing this truth, knowing this memory, suddenly changes a few things. So Vincent, how does Vincent react to seeing this, first of all?
Well, sheer curiosity and then sheer horror as well, because he had for a long time a crave to know more about the supernatural and the spiritual. And he had invested most of that motivation in stuff that didn't work. And he had, like, in front of his nose the whole time people who actually had this capacity and this power. And then he kind of quickly makes up his mind, and he tries to concentrate on the idea of how one gets out of Elysium alive.
Okay. Roll me another plus soul, Vincent.
Sure. On the back of his mind, he remembered. Remember, the deal was just steal the crystal for him. He didn't say anything about showing this stuff to Mr. Percival before or anything. Just stealing for him. And he said that the moment I touch this crystal, he would have what he wanted. So let's see how that.
Sure, it's all gonna be fine.
Sure.
Seems
Oh,
like a
boy.
really trustworthy guy.
No, that's
Okay,
a lovely
so
12.
Vincent, you search for an exit along with Jolene and Thomas, who are all sort of concurrently now. You guys are all searching for an exit. I've got to take a quick bio break, but I will cut over to Percy and Cassie, who I feel like might have something to say before I get involved here. So I'll hand over to you guys who are heading through the darkness, Percy leading Cassie on by the hand, having just told her that he knows a little something about her past. Be right back.
Being in the darkness this long, it's you change a man.
I suppose it could. As long as you got, you know, somebody to hold your hand. Just kind of gives his hand a little squeeze.
Mm-hmm.
Can't be all that bad.
That is true. As long as that person is there to lead you true. Cassie,
Percy.
I want to know that. You love me.
Of course I love you, Percy. I'd do anything for you.
Well, then I want to hear you say it. Right now.
I love you, Percy.
Oh, no. Not that, Cassie Sue. I want to hear you admit it. And if you admit it, then I know you love me. And I don't have to think that I should have to explain what it is. In a lifetime such as ours, there can only be, one or two, maybe three it's. Maybe the first two don't go the way they should, but finally, you find it. I didn't know I had it, but apparently I did. So, I would like for you, my dear, my love, to admit it.
All right, Percy. You know I've been involved in the occult this whole time. There was a couple of individuals that didn't know them terribly well, but especially the first one. He's just kind of one of those goth kids. Anyways, they didn't have what it takes to make a deal with the inheritor. And then I met you, Percy, and I knew there was something special about you. Just aside from, I debated if I was even going to tell you about the inheritor at first, but I had a feeling about you. And I decided that, well, if the feeling was that good, why keep it from you? And so I took you up and did a ritual and pledged us both to the inheritor. And I'm sorry I may not have explained everything as concisely and clearly as I should have beforehand. But many people just don't understand. After all this time, I should hope that you do.
My dear, I do appreciate your honesty, although it is a step short of what I had hoped for. Because I may be a rotten-souled bastard, but that's my soul, goddammit. And you sold it on my behalf. And that is the rub here, my dear. You do understand that, don't you?
I can see where you're coming from.
Well, at least I know my viewpoint is seen, as we have seen yours. And Will, I assume as we've been discussing this thing that the memory has been playing in the background. Oh, you're muted.
You're muted.
Yeah, it's been almost like on a projector, I guess, in the background playing cinematic.
Okay. So basically, I'm gonna do whatever until I see it kind of crystallize into the stone.
If I could do it over again, Percy, I'd let you make the decision.
Well, that is something. And do know that I do love you. Always have. I could never hurt you.
I could never hurt you out.
Him on the other hand. Well, speaking of the other hand, and Will, as the memory kind of coalesces into the crystal, you see me like plunge my hand down into the mummified hand of Koskov Romanovich, almost like donning a gauntlet, and calling out to him to make a deal.
Okay. As you do that in this place of memories where anything can happen and appear to you, you hear a voice, a particularly Russian voice as well. It asks why you have called it.
For I've heard of your prowess and your power, and I wish to give myself to you so that you may be a weapon once more. And in giving myself, I only ask one thing. You root out the current occupant of my soul.
And you
Let
just
me
hear
have my vengeance on him, and I am yours.
You hear, duh. And you see is this sort of like mummified hand that you've got just like fuses to your own. This fist of a god melts into your own, and you feel this surge of power coursing through your whole body.
So Will,
It's awesome in the true sense of the term. Yeah.
So Will, I'm going to be take a journey here with me in the land of rules lore area. Under artifact, I just rolled a 15, and it says that an artifact can get yourself out of a bind. Now I realize I'm being very particular with the grammar, but technically the inheritor is bound to me. It is a binding. Right. And so that's what I would like to do is, with the mummified hand of Koskov, reach into my own chest, my spiritual soul, and try to pull the inheritor out.
Okay. So, as this happens, this fist glows bright, and you can see, even in this unnatural darkness, Cassie and Percy, you can see illuminated Percy's face, contorted in this moment of ultimate power coursing through his body. This look of shock, but also there's a glee to it, satisfaction, as you watch him be filled with this new power, and at the same time, it feels as though something else is being rejected, is being cast out from him. And in fact, all of you who are searching for an exit, Jolene, Thomas, and Vincent, suddenly, wherever you're looking at in the darkness, spot this flash of light and begin heading towards it as the only sign that you found of a possible exit from this place. And you come to see Percy and this hand fuse, this mummified hand fusing to his own. And by the time that it finishes fusing, it's metallic and almost like machine-like. It reminds you of something from like Doctor Who. Is the closest thing that Percy is right now. He's something else, and the fist remains illuminated and illuminates this tunnel before you. Jolene, you recognize this most likely to be the tunnel leading through underneath the hedge maze to the palace. But as I said, there's also a rejection as well as an acceptance of power. And rejecting the inheritor, while possible through this artifact, is still incredibly painful for Percy. And his face of satisfaction turns to one of horror and pain as something is being ripped from him by himself. It's like sawing off your own arm. Percy screams out involuntarily from this agony which is coursing through him, and his mouth begins to speak with a voice that is not his own, a voice that you can all recognize to be that of the inheritors. And he says, "Fool, I have already taken everything from you." And as it is cast out from you, this Percy's face and voice contorts again, and then he slumps. And you can sense that the spirit of the inheritor has been rejected. When his eyes open, they glow a devilish red.
And yes, he probably has his back to you and kind of like is bent over and just kind of stands up and turns around. That is better.
Percy?
And yet, it's complicated. I am still here, my dear. I just,
Oh, all right. That was something. Russian?
I believe that he is Russian. I have made my choice, my dear. And I will see that you are safe at the end of all this.
I think she's just kind of in a bit of shell shock from seeing all that too. And she's like, "Are you all right?" All right.
We have people we need to kill, yes?
I was asleep for a lot of this. Sure. I suppose. This is very strange. All right. Well, I suppose we should get a move on then.
You all look changed in some way, at least most visually Percy, but you can all sense that you've each experienced something life-altering within here. And Vincent, you feel a strange sort of weight in your pocket. When you were searching for this exit from Elysium, you notice that something is now in your pocket that wasn't before.
So I look into my pocket.
It's a gun, not a golden one. not particularly ornate in any manner. You look inside and there's one bullet.
Oh, how poetic. So I'm waving the gun to everybody.
Sorry, and on that sort of like barrel, it says exit.
Not exactly what I meant. So I'm waving it to everybody. Hello?
Are we still in darkness?
Now that Koskov's hand is fused to Percy's, it gives off this sort of radiance to it, which illuminates around you, so you can see each other, even though it's still a sort of foggy darkness.
I believe the exit is over here.
Mr. Percival?
Yes, you can call me that. Sure.
State.
So
Vincent is going to reach into his pocket for the crystal.
Yeah, it's there.
So it's going to show it to Percival and Cassandra. So you guys are familiar with the whole deal with being possessed by the devil, I assume, already.
Yes, it is what you call inciting incident to current state of your friend Percival.
Oh, okay. So I was
Love
wondering, I
makes men
got
do
the...
things.
Okay. So I was wondering, I got the thing that I'm supposed to give to the narrator, so no harm done, right? No hard feelings.
Yes. If you want, I will give it to him for you.
No, I'm going to give it myself. I really like this new Russian guy, Cassie. You really know how to pick them, huh?
It would seem so. Things are just happening so fast right now.
Also, very good news. I just found the exit of Elysium. I show everybody the gun.
Well, no, it's over here. And he points to the tunnel.
Thomas
No,
starts
that's not-
walking down the tunnel.
Oh, wait,
Yeah.
Thomas. You should know something about that tunnel before you go down it. That tunnel leads to the heart of the city. I mean, it's where we gotta go, but I'm not sure that's the way out.
He turns.
It is a destination, though, right?
He turns and he just kind of nods and continues.
Jolene will hurry after him, not wanting to be kind of left alone again.
Okay. Does everyone else follow?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Nah.
You head through the tunnel with the light from Koskov's fist illuminating the enclosed space around you. And true to the map, which Jolene got a glimpse of, it does wind its way straight forwards for quite some time. You walk for maybe an hour or so with essentially nothing jumping out and spooking you, though you can tell that whatever place you're heading towards is getting colder and colder. It feels as though you are headed towards your final destination one way or another, and each of you have some kind of some score to settle, rather. Ahead of you, after this hour walk, are a flight of stairs leading upwards into a room which is lit. You can sort of see a little bit up through the staircase. There is light coming from a chamber beyond, and it looks as though, just judging by the ceiling of the room that you're about to enter into, which is like 100 feet tall, that this might be the palace that you've been looking for. Potentially the throne room as well.
I don't suppose Thomas sees any weapons or anything around, does he?
No.
Percival
I
pulls
know
out the golden gun in his left hand. It's like, I have this.
Koskov, so right now, Percy is Percy and he's a little bit Koskov. Whether or not he Percy really realizes that or not. But the Koskov part of him has noticed Jolene, who has this trait of desirousness, I guess. And Koskov has noticed this what he might see as a Russian beauty amongst and Koskov is less concerned about really important things maybe than he should be at certain times. So the Percy part of him might be really focused on revenge, but the Koskov part might be less so interested in that.
So what role do you need from me there, Will?
I don't think you even get to roll. I think you're just you are desirous because I get to spend a hold on it because Jolene is an object of desire. Yeah.
Well, in that case, yes. So what is your stake in all of this? Is it Jolene?
Yes, Percy. Remember
Please call me Koskov.
Koskov. My ex-husband is trying to marry someone else to take over the world. I think that's what's going on.
That's rough. Breakup can be. I too myself never worked out. This difference of opinion. But you want me to take care of this ex for you? Koskov can do this.
That's very nice of you, Koskov. I think it's better we just stay out of Joe's way and stop it. Well, maybe you do need to take care of... I don't know, Koskov, what we're gonna do about
Tell you
Joe.
what. Jolie, please, you stay out of Joe's way. I'll take care of. Then after, maybe we have conversation and drink, or just a letter.
I'd like to have another drink with you, Koskov.
You would. After.
A very large drink.
Does not come in any other size, my dear.
Will, Thomas is going to pop his hand into the pocket where Mr. Fibbles normally is. Is he still there?
What a sentence.
That's a great statement.
All the things I make you say. Yeah. He's gone. Mr. Fibbles is no longer there. It's as though he fled.
What's around us?
Just the staircase headed upwards right now, and you can see light coming from above. You suspect that to be a pretty huge room. Like I say, the ceiling you can tell is like 100 feet tall, and there's one of those ceilings that you can tell it's like in a palace because it's got it's all just a painting above.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would like to use my sixth sense. I rolled so I could use 2 of these, and I would like to discover a clue to the whereabouts of my 2 sides. If they're nearby, or if they're anywhere.
The whereabouts of your side. Gotcha.
Yeah, basically the weapons that I used to use, or any weapon that, primarily those. Then, though.
Yeah. The anger inside of you is sort of bubbling up the longer you've walked alone, walked in this darkness, just thinking about it, consuming you. When you have one of those thoughts where you just, it gets worse and worse, and you sort of talk yourself into more sort of anger. And your arms are sort of beginning to hurt, and you get this sort of sixth sense as you feel them. You actually see that there's sort of a line along your arm of of blood, and then you sort of you feel it, and it's almost like there's a nail there, almost like a bone, where the blood is coming from. It's hard. It's like the scythe, and the more you give into this anger, the more you bleed, the more prominent that begins to become.
Okay. In that case, Thomas is gonna hold off, and he's gonna believe that once the time is right, he'll get what he wants. So he's gonna hide them though. He's got long kind. He's gonna hide them, but he knows when the time is right.
Your back's beginning to feel the same way. You can feel this little twinge on those muscles that you didn't realize you had before, that you could like contort them in the same way, and now you're sort of like flexing them, and you feel a trickle of blood running down your back there as well. You suspect wings may be sort of emerging.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So Daedalus stops and says, "All right, up there is it's the throne room. No doubt a couple of our friends might be there, and no doubt the queen herself as well. So if there was ever a time to prepare yourselves for something, now would be that moment. If anyone has any preparations to make, or things to say to each other before the end, then, well, this is the end. For at least some of us. Maybe all of us."
Percy goes over to Cassie Sue. My dear,
Percy.
I'm always here. For the time being. I don't know how this is all gonna go down. But I did what I did because it was my choice. And I just want you to know I could never hurt you. I will try to protect you through this. But the inheritor wants to put you on that throne next to him, where you will be his slave for eternity. And I will not allow that to happen. Because I love you. No matter what.
Percy. You're sweeter than sweet tea.
That's why I don't have sugar in it.
I thought that was the blood pressure, but yes. All right. I thought I had a vague idea of how this was all going to go down, but then, everyone got involved, so I guess what happens, happens. And I will always be here for you, Percy.
Well, I hope that I'm here for you after all this in some semblance, but I'm not sure, so... I apologize for my behavior, as I have ceded control of myself to some extent. So, but hopefully it will be our salvation.
Hopefully.
And he just leans in and gives her a very sweet kiss.
Okay. Anyone else doing anything at this point?
Jolene's gonna approach Thomas. She has something to tell him about. And she makes sure Percy is distracted talking to Cassie Sue, and she'll explain to Thomas how the watch works. That she can pause time, speed it up, slow it down very briefly. The time will catch up eventually, but perhaps we can use it when we step into this room. Perhaps we can have a small chance to beat the others. I don't exactly know the plan as such. I mean, there's a queen, and all these powerful people wanting to marry her and all. But I don't think we can let this place win, you know? I don't think we can let this place take over. I think the world needs a line. And I don't think this race needs to be won. I think it needs to be stopped.
He'll look into Jolene's eyes. His penetrating, almost burning amber eyes. They almost look like they're on fire. It's weird if you look into it. And as he looks at Jolene, they kind of dim very slightly, and he looks at her quite a stone face, not as emotional or as he's usually been, and he'll tilt his head to one side. You are right. No one should go on that throne. And you have a very powerful item there. It would be wise to use it. How often can you use it?
I don't know. But anytime I use it, that'll catch up with me.
He'll extend his hand. Then let me use it.
I have a feeling this item's bound to me. It doesn't matter if you use it. It's my watch. It's my time that'll be changed.
Then I suggest you use it as a last resort to save yourself.
What's happened to your eyes?
And he tilts his head to the side. I remember. And
You remember about the Bawden house where we grew up now?
I remember it all. And he'll put his hand on her shoulder, and it's almost like he's trying to be sympathetic, but it just comes across as just he's putting a hand on the shoulder, like he's trying, but it's just there's no emotion, there's no feeling to it. He just puts it on. He's dead. Thomas died 10 years ago.
Then who are you? And Jolene will like take a scared step backwards.
I am of this place. Thomas was, I suppose, a vessel of some sort. 1 in a billion. But he is dead. And it's like just so flat, barely any emotion. But you could probably try and tell he's trying to be sympathetic, or perhaps, but it's just the concept seems alien to him. He just doesn't understand. But I do still remember you. All his memories.
I'd like to think that's reassuring. Well, I guess you know about the watch now and how I think about this place, and you know who you are, and that's good.
I should tell you, I honestly don't really care who sits on the throne. I'm going for one thing and one thing only.
What's that, Thomas?
I'm going to kill whoever. I'm going to kill the thing that took my divinity.
Who's that?
He just stares And he kind of puts his hand in his pocket and takes out nothing and kind of just brings it down and you'll see when we get up there. Just stay out of my way. And he turns and starts to walk up.
Okay.
And Jolene goes in the opposite direction back down the tunnel a few bases backwards.
Okay. And Vincent, was there anything you wanted to do here?
Vincent kind of watches everybody, and he's kind of again waving the gun. Oh, never mind me, just the guy here with the gun, you know, who didn't find any superpowers in the museum, didn't get bitten by a nuclear spider or lizard, whatever. So Daedalus says, pointing the gun at him very casually. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Not used to these things. I think I found a way out. So he shows the gun to him.
He nods. Yeah, that's that's one option, I guess. Like I said, though, there's no sure way to get back home. That is one very final way to try.
Oh, yeah. So what do we do now? Who should sit on that throne, or who shouldn't sit? How do we stop everything?
I say we stop everything. I say
Yeah.
whoever sits on that, it's only badness and chaos for the world. So we can make sure that no one sits there, then good.
You think we could have a recount of the possible candidates we have to deal with right now?
Sure thing. We've got Mr. Magnolia, who I think we all know to be something of a devil.
Oh,
Then we have Miss
lovely.
Reader and her legion of undead tree people. I don't much fancy that. So then we have, I guess we have the Inheritor and any vessel through which he wishes to exert his influence. And he looks towards Cassie. And I guess there's the rest of you.
Oh, that's nice.
Good.
You go
Do
ahead.
not worry about Inheritor. I will take care of him. And possibly Mr. Magnolia. Is that Joel, right, Jolene?
Yes.
Yes. But I agree. Who cares? No one sits on throne.
Good. That sounds like a very sound plan, foolproof. Just avoid
We
these
have
incredible... Go ahead.
one regular gun, apparently. We have... Percy's got a golden one. And she glances at Mr. Daedalus and decides not to bring that up again, because that went down really badly last time.
What
And
about
she looks
yours,
at...
Daedalus?
Mm-hmm.
And,
Yep.
we have Thomas just walking down the corridor. Cassie and I... Well, I don't know. Cassie, do you have a weapon?
Well, I have a knife, a ritual dagger. I could also, if given ritual, attempt to perform a spell. But I don't think I have quite anything for this exact scenario.
When you say you can cast a spell, what kind of spell can you cast?
Oh, well, I've dabbled in the occult, so I mean, as long as I can see what needs to be done, I can cast pretty much anything.
Well, I've got this, and she's gonna hold out that memory stone, that green stone.
Mm-hmm.
It's linked to my husband. If you could use it to slow him or stop him, because that's the thing with spells, right? It's you need something of theirs, like hair or something. This is Joe. This is his memory.
Oh, sweet. That's New Orleans. I'm from Mississippi, but I can give it a shot.
I want it back if it doesn't work.
All right, no problem. I don't have a need of anything from Mr. Magnolia anyway.
You know, this isn't that bad, I suppose. I always picture my aunt, you know, in the hands of some mafia guy. You know, the classic, where's my money, where's my money? You know, be dying along people I have come to know, believe to count as friends, despite their obvious, you know, proclivities towards black magic. It's not that bad, I guess.
Oh, magic comes in all sorts of colors, Vincent. Don't worry about it.
Yes,
Wait,
magic
this-
is magic. It's just a different path to it.
Okay, but allow me a moment of empathy towards my fellow loners. And Mr. Daedalus, how about you? What's the deal with you?
You mean me on the throne?
Yeah, I figure if we're going to die, so...
Well, that's not something I want, but if there was no other way, I suppose, but only as a very last resort. I would rather see no one there than have to take up that mantle, but if it's a matter between me and one of those other two devils, then I guess I could try and, you know, fight the queen up there, but
Well, with
let's
the
just
queen,
say it's a bad idea, probably.
this whole thing started with us looking for her, right? Can't we just hide her again briefly, slow everyone down? I don't know if it's possible to kill her, but we can move her, right? That's what the golden gun does. Sun sends it places.
Right. We could send it somewhere, but we'd have to send it somewhere that no one could find. Somewhere hidden. Into a secret place or
What
a
if we
memory.
hide her in an IKEA? You can never find anything in those places.
Oh, the back room of my antique store?
A memory, you say? How's
Well,
that?
think about it. We've got... Some of you have memory stones there. That, yeah, I mean, in theory, could we put something into a memory? With the gun?
Let me look at these
What if-
stones.
What if
And I'd
we
like
put
to-
something in the memory and then we destroy the memory? Because if we put it in Joe's memory, then he'll remember and he'll know where she is.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
If you destroy the stone, then it might be lost forever.
Can I use my magical intuition? I want to use my magical intuition to look at these stones.
Okay. What'd you get to know about them?
I get to make a roll first. I gotta roll plus stone, so that is good. Okay. I get to know 3 things. So looking at the stones, the memory stones and the gun and stuff, I can choose 3 options. 2 can be saved until later. We know they have a magical nature. I want to learn something about the memory stone's true nature. Like, would it be possible to implant something in there? Can they be destroyed?
Inception.
Yes, they can be destroyed. That much, you know. And when the stone is destroyed, theoretically, and the inheritor sort of spoke to this a bit as well, the memory itself is destroyed from that person's mind. So theoretically, you think so, but it's magic, so there's not necessarily a whole science book to it. You get the sense it could be achieved.
Okay. I think it could
Maybe
be
by
achieved.
shooting them both at the same time, that could work.
All right.
So So I could possibly, and Percy pulls up his hand and like he's holding the stone in the metal hand of Koskov. So Percy's not actually touching the memory. So the memory of Cassandra making the deal with the inheritor. We could do it in this.
Put it in that one? Certainly. I'd also like to learn where the illusion is weakest towards other dimensions. See if there's like a specific place we should aim for, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I suppose like the crystal, like the top of like either end of the crystal is like where it's weakest because it's a small point, rather than the sort of like flatness of it where there's more mass. Yeah.
Cool. And I'll save my third one to see the same thing about the queen when we see her. Okay. So I'll show relay all that too.
Okay.
So we shoot it at that end. Same time, shoot at the queen, and I'll see if I can spot a good place for that could work.
Okay, that's plan A. Plan B is just kill everyone else from getting onto the throne before they can get there.
Alrighty. So we're doing this like full frontal assault. It isn't like a backdoor, a stealthier approach.
Well, maybe we can try and distract them while Cassie does that. And worst comes to worst, if that distraction turns into a fight distraction, then so be it.
Okay, well, if there's one lesson I got from all these experiences, that marriage isn't for everybody. So
it's really not. Nothing more than a piece of paper, to be honest.
Definitely not something I want to dabble on. So I'm glad that in my life outside Elysium, I didn't got that one. And that's all I got to say, I guess. Let's just get on with this.
All right, I agree.
I do agree, my people. This we should bring this to a conclusion forthwith.
All right. So cue badass slow motion walk up the stairs as each of the characters holding various different items of great power or themselves becoming objects of great power ascends to the throne room. Like I said, the ceiling is massive and reminds you of like a French palace, but more horrific, if such a thing can be more horrific than France. But as you
well,
and I'm not
I
sure
take it you voted for Brexit.
Yeah, that's it. Oh man. As you guys look upon the this room, come out from the staircase and look upon this throne room ahead of you at the top of the room and the dais, there is this throne, in which is this angel statue that you've seen before, but now she's not really a statue. You realize that this woman, this queen, is very, very real. But it looks as though she's almost asleep or in stasis right now, her head down as though she's locked away into a dream, her frame very rigid as though she's locked into place. Beside her is an empty throne. You're not the only ones here.
Eyeballs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll get to that in just a second. But you guys are not the only ones here in this room, because entering from two different sides of the throne room, almost at the same moment, from one side comes the lumbering figure of the mob boss, Mr. Magnolia. He's here in his suit, sort of lumbers in. Behind him come a host of figures in the darkness, forming along the walls and the floors, similar to those that you saw before in his underground warehouse. These people that almost look like shadows on the wall, but you can tell that there's something else to them, something very real about their forms. While they may just be shadows, you sense that there is a very real danger to them. As he enters the room, he eyes you up, but his eyes are also locked upon the other group entering from the eastern side of the throne room, and this is, of course, Ms. Tiffany Reader. She's not alone either, because behind her are a small cohort of trees. But these trees aren't normal trees. These trees have upon them the heads and almost stitched, woven into the fabric of the bark, appendages of humans, people that you can recognize arms here and there and elbows sticking out from the tree. This trees almost ooze with blood as they move, despite their forms being bark-like and should be sort of stiff, but the bones and the flesh on them give them this more humanoid living sense, and it's as though the trees themselves are breathing, which is a particularly unnerving sight. The two groups enter and stop about the same distance away from the throne as you, as though they're waiting for something. And from behind the throne, you see the same man, Thomas, that you recognize in your dream as Mr. Fibbles, the man simply known to the others here in Elysium as the Father. He's old, his wings are still sort of ruffled with age and somewhat deteriorated. He steps out from behind the Queen and stands on the dais before you. And he says, "It is so good that you have all made this incredible journey. And you have arrived at the final destination. The coronation is about to begin, and there can be only one ruler alongside our beautiful Queen. Too long have we been without one. We need her back, and we need to tear the veil away from Earth. Show them the true reality. To show them their divinity. Now, you've all done so well to get here, but I can help you no longer. I must gracefully bow out, and as the gatekeeper of this particular entrance, step aside to allow whoever is the most worthy to sit upon this throne." And he looks at you, Thomas. Thomas, you were always my favorite. Here you are now. Perhaps it will be you, seated upon this throne by the end of today. Perhaps you will rejoin me in the skies where you belong. Thomas, I asked a lot from you. Too much, perhaps. And for your penance, 10 long years on Earth without your divinity. For having achieved what I have asked from you, what I set out. I offer you back your divinity, should you choose to join me in Elysium forever. And he extends a hand.
Are my shoulders twitching?
They are.
Like they're ready to.
How's Thomas feeling right now?
He is. I mean, for a split second, he's tempted. He's very, very tempted. But the anger for him. I mean, it was only 10 years, but for him, it felt like eternity. The fact that he took something so precious, basically took what his pure essence, what he was, and took it away from him, stolen so many years, stolen his life from him. It's just pure rage. And he looks up at him, and that is a very generous offer, Father. But I want more. And at that moment, he sprints forward. He clutches something. The blades come out, his shoulders twitch, and he just goes straight for him.
Yeah. You leap into action, and immediately the two of them begin this tussle. And you realize that from Thomas's back, something's emerging, and as he leaps towards him, he leaps farther than any man has any right to leap, because from the back sprouts these dark, black angel wings, and they lift him, and you fly with this jump all the way, maybe 60 feet across the room. It's like a moment from the Matrix for Thomas, into the grip of Father. And the two of them begin to tussle in the air as these scythes eject themselves almost from Thomas's arms, bursting their way forth with a spray of blood and sinew which spatters onto the floor. And the two of them are now up in the sky on the ceiling, gripping one another, trying to kill one another. At the same time, Mr. Magnolia and Miss Rita also leap into action, and you see that they are running straight towards the throne, as if it's a race as to who can sit on the chair, like a musical chairs competition. What do the group of you do? We'll get back to Thomas in a second.
Well, I never, and I perceive the curling aura on the queen to see what would be the best place to...
Right in the fucking head.
Like, headshot, dear. That's all I say as I lean over.
Oh, yes, my dear. And, question, Will.
Yes.
You said that the stone and... the stone needs to touch the statue right as you shoot it?
Or at least the gun to shoot both of them, so you could put the stone in front of the gun.
End. Yeah, and then
fire it off.
Well, in that case, yeah. He pulls up the stone, holding it between his two fingers, his gauntleted hand, and puts the golden gun in line. And well, I always was a lady killer, my dear. And he pulls the trigger.
All right. As that is happening, Jolene and Vincent, you're watching as Percy and Cassie are talking to each other. You think they're about to fire the gun. Mr. Magnolia and Miss Rita are potentially making this shot a difficult one because they're running towards the throne, getting in the way. What do you two do?
So Vincent is going to start running towards them, see that he can put himself in the way of at least one of them, at least of Mr. Magnolia.
Okay, so you run for Mr. Magnolia. Jolene, what are you doing at this moment?
For the briefest of moments, she equivocates and hesitates, and then everything is happening so quickly and she can't make up her mind, so she literally just grabs that watch and like pulls the pin out to stop time, because she's like, I need to think about this, y'all are acting way too quick.
Okay. Time stops around you for a moment. Percy.
Question, Will. Since Percy has the wild magic surge, that timepieces work funny around him, does that have any effect on this?
Let's roll a plus willpower for Percy, because he may have the Koskov in him, may allow him to act where others cannot.
+1.
Yeah, looking for a 9 or above. So,
nope. Roll
Percy. Yeah. So, Jolene, time seems to slow down and then stop around you. What does Jolene do?
I think she kind of blinks to see, yep, everyone has definitely stopped, and she's gonna feel herself kind of drawn to walk over to Joe. For the first time, she has complete control of a situation that he's involved with. And she stares at him, and then she stares across the room to Tiffany, who stole her best friend and turned her half into a tree, which was unfathomable before and remains kind of unforgivable in her mind. And she's gonna reach out and see if she can pull Tiffany.
You're muted,
Will.
You can feel her expensive clothing, and you can pull it. You can feel her moving. Where do you pull her?
So she starts kind of pulling her, and then she's looking around, and she decides instead just to push her as hard as she can over and back towards all the tree people.
Okay.
Because she doesn't want her getting in the way of the shot, because she doesn't know how long she's going to be able to stop time before it's going to be too much. So she's like, right,
Okay.
This one's going over there.
Yeah, as you begin to pull her, you begin to feel this sort of pressure all around you, as though reality itself is beginning to distort. The wall looks for a moment as though it's water. Lights suddenly start flickering and playing in your eyes all around you, and you sense that time is running out on whatever this device is. And as you pull Tiffany in place, you look down at the watch, and as the ticker sort of comes to an end, as the Inheritor had mentioned, several things happen almost, it feels like immediately, as time races to try and catch up with itself. Almost like a cassette tape which has been unspooled a bit and then tries to catch up with itself and play itself too quickly. And as you watch, you pull away Miss Rita, Vincent is running in to tackle Mr. Magnolia, and you watch as Percy and Cassie line up the gun to shoot the statue with the stone right through the center of the Queen's head. And the trigger is pulled, and for a blissful second, nothing happens. And then time catches up with itself, and then everything happens very, very quickly. And you watch as the Queen and the stone both disappear entirely. And the stone itself, just before it disappears, looks as though it cracked and was destroyed. And there are just fragments, there are shards of this memory stone now in Koskov's hands. You have 100 little pieces in that hand. At the same time, Thomas brings crashing down to the ground the father, and this descent it's as though Thomas and him are lagging. And then like catch up with themselves. They crash into the ground, and Thomas has the father pinned down on the floor. Vincent has Mr. Magnolia in a sort of like a headlock on the ground where he's tackled him, and Cassie Sue is watching Koskov's hands. And then entering from behind you from the staircase is the Inheritor. You hear the tap of his old cane as he walks up the stairs, and he gestures his hands towards Vincent, and the memory stone that Vincent had captured for him of Percy's memory appears to sort of it's almost like it's apparated towards him as though he's controlled it. And he says to Percy, well, you may well have gotten this far, but there are still some shards of that memory stone I can piece together, and in a moment, you're going to forget why you even wanted me dead in the first place. And as he, like, shatters the stone, that part of Percy's memory dies, but it's not just Percy's memory in there anymore. And the Inheritor smiles, as though this is the final masterpiece in his all too elaborate plan. And there's a look of momentary confusion on Percy's face, and then Koskov is back.
Excuse me, Mr. Inheritor. I believe
You have assaulted a vessel of mine. So what was business before, he came to me pleading for help. You have now turned personal, my friend. And Koskov like looks down, and as the memory shards that he already crushed of Cassie's deal are still there, his hand lights on fire, and he rushes forward, like not physically, because basically Will, I was basically just going to use my inner power since I'm now bound with Koskov. So basically, I don't have to be next to the Inheritor to attack him. I could just he's in my vicinity, and so it's one of those things where it's like it looks like I reach out and try and punch at him, but I don't really move. Right. So we will see if because this could be really, really awesome if I roll above a 15. Holy crap! So I basically I do 2 harm to every opponent in my vicinity as I basically like reach out to punch, and this punch like goes out in every direction. Yeah. And simultaneously, Koskov punches every opponent in this room with a series of normal punches.
As you, as this effect ripples out across the room, where Vincent is holding Mr. Magnolia, where he's about to let go, it's as though Mr. Magnolia is struck by that blow as well, and Vincent, you have him firmly pinned down to the ground. Jolene with Miss Rita as well, and her army of like tree-kin undead folk are all battered back onto the floor where you're standing by the brutality of this attack. Thomas, where you're holding the father, a scythe now to his neck. He also falls backwards and is unable to resist this force. We'll cut to Thomas here in a split second. You have the father exactly where you want him, and he looks up at you and spits blood from his mouth and says, "Thomas, come on. Divinity, do not discard forever. For what? Some mortal game come. These people are not you. Remember who you really are. My fallen angel."
He edges in close with the scythe at his throat. "I remember everything. I remember what you took from me, and now I'm gonna take everything." And then as he puts the blade down, he's gonna use his inner power and see how well he does. Hopefully,
see it.
Not too bad. Oh dear!
Oh,
what?
No! Oh
that
no!
didn't make sense.
Snake eyes. Yeah, 1 plus
the actual graphic was different from what actually happened. Okay.
Debated.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Debated. Yeah.
So, Thomas, something as you put the scythe down to where his neck would be, something just stops you. Something in his eyes wills you. You just can't quite make yourself do it. And as Koskov's fist finally connects now with the Inheritor, you see that his old man body is thrown across the room, and he is smashed against the back wall of this throne room, splintered and broken, and you can tell that his back has been entirely splintered by the force of this, and he falls down to the ground, and after a moment where you think he might be dead, he begins to just slowly crawl. That's all he can bring himself to do at this point, and he sputters out, "We had a deal, all of us. We had a deal."
Well, we have a new deal. And Koskov raises the golden gun. "And this is not your property anymore. and pulls the trigger and shoots the inheritor with the golden gun that does not belong to him.
His eyes turn to a smirk for a second as he thinks that he's immune to this attack, and then they widen in this sudden shock and horror, and he screams and screeches, "No!" And rather than just disappearing, as other things have, the inheritor behaves in a different way. You see 100 hands rise up from the ground and begin to pull and tear away at his flesh and at his clothes, and they all murmur in unison, "We had a deal. We had a deal. We had a deal." And as the hands of the hundreds, those that souls were previously owned by the inheritor, all of the little deals that he made with everyone, rise up and rip him to shreds. It's only Thomas then, who's truly left with Father gripping at one another. And as you guys look over, you can tell that Thomas is it seems as though he's trapped, almost unable to kill this being that maybe birthed him, made him, created him. And also, the throne does look awful empty right now, I should add. And all of the enemies look as though they're in not much of a state to move anywhere after Koskov's attack has sort of laid them out to pasture for at least a little while. Daedalus says, "We have to finish this."
We do. Thomas, do you require assistance? Or is this one of those I need to do it myself things?
At the moment, he's still got the blade up to his throat, and everything is, a part of him is screaming to do it just for pure vengeance, but he is an angel, and angels are born to obey, and obey his father, so it's going against his very nature to try and kill this, and he's just caught in a stalemate between what he wants to do. He can barely hear anything around him. His wings and all of his body, with blood veins, seem to be burning amber. His eyes burning amber, and he's just at a stalemate at this moment, just trying to see which side will tip over, and he just can't do it. He's hanging on there, but it's like one minute it goes a bit closer, the next it goes back. He's kind of stuck at the moment.
Jolene, you hear a whisper from the floor, a sort of sputter, a cough. It's from your husband. He's kind of, Jolene, and he reaches a hand towards you. Help me. And you can tell that he's in real agony, real pain. He may be on his deathbed for all you know. Joe, it's the only way. I'll die. And he looks towards the throne. Help me.
I can't, Joe. I don't want you sitting on that throne.
I'm gonna die if I don't. Please.
I guess you're gonna die then, Joe.
His face twists into one final sort of sneer at you. He begins to try, against all of the odds, to pull his broken body towards the throne without your help. It's slow, it's torturous, he's not getting very far, but he is moving. Daedalus looks towards you. We have to finish this. Once and for all. He hands you his golden gun. If you want it, it's not actually mine.
Oh, yeah, we are done now with this, yes?
Oh, we can switch it back if you want. I was
Yeah.
it's
And
kind of a
Koskov-
moment here, Koskov.
Oh, sorry.
And Jolene's looking at these two weapons, and she takes the golden gun, which to her feels the exact same as the last one that she had. And she looks down at Joe crawling across the floor. And it takes her a long time, and she's watching, but as he gets so close to the throne, she just points and then closes her eyes and just squeezes the trigger and really hopes she doesn't miss, because she can't look while she does it.
You close your eyes and pull the trigger. And when you look again, Mr. Magnolia is no longer there. And he's gone.
And she's gonna just thrust that golden gun at Mr. Daedalus and snatch her bucket with cocoa in.
Yeah. Thomas, roll me plus soul, my friend.
Alright.
Obey me.
Come on, give me something good. 14. That's pretty good.
14 is
Okay.
good.
I'm still.
You sense this sort of deadlock between you, and Koskov's over you, and you can barely focus enough to even speak to him, and your eyes are just locked with Father's, and his face begins to twist and contort, and for a second it looks as though his face is Mr. Fibbles, then it turns to Damien's face, and then back to his own, and then back to your own, and as every reality begins to sort of unravel around this figure, you break for just a moment through that bond of king and servant, of the one who must obey and the one who gives the order, and for a moment you are yourself, your true self.
Thomas goes in close. You're right. I can kill you. I can do something worse. And he takes off with his father. And at this moment, he grabs the wings and just tears them off in one side. And he goes on the other one and tears the other one off. And he kind of lifts him up and just charges down, flies down, and just smashes him through the ground and throws him, hopefully, back down to Earth as a mortal. That's what I'm hoping to do.
The two of you are wrapped in a smoking ball of fury and flame, and to the rest of you, they have disappeared through the very ground itself. You can look through this chasm in the earth to the sky beneath and the clouds as you watch the smoking ruin descend down towards a very, very, very distant ball in the sky. And for Thomas and his father, it's as though you're in a dream flying, Thomas, and all of the dreams that you had before come back to you as you're falling through the air with and without wings, you and your father. And eventually you come close enough through the sky to see the earth, and with one final hurl of raw fury and godlike energy, you cast aside the divinity of your father and throw him down to Earth, a mortal, where he belongs. For those on Earth, it looks as though a comet has recently struck Earth, or a meteorite may have landed nearby. No doubt scientists will investigate.
Can I return to the Rome?
Yeah, this is
Okay.
hell and hellfire and fury right now. Casting that anger aside, you ascend upwards, your black wings against the sky, and return to the palace of Elysium.
And maybe when you get back, Koskov, Randolph Stewart III, is standing in front of the throne, and he's like, looks back at Daedalus.
do we need do we need this throne? Is this existence vital?
I mean, if you want to, blow it up, you could try it. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know.
What do I know much about the throne, considering my divinity?
I mean, not really. I mean, in theory, you could blow this thing to hellfire.
If there is no throne, there is nothing for people to strive for to rule others. So I'm thinking if we get rid of throne, then we solve a problem. For a time.
I mean,
Who's
you
to
might
say
be right.
another throne?
They'd probably rebuild one, but yeah, I like it. Blow it up.
Thomas, do you want to help?
Very
I don't
well.
think I can do it by myself. What about you, Vincent? You have gun.
You want me to shoot a throne made of stone with a handgun?
Well,
I got
it's
one
not
shot
just
on
a
that thing.
handgun, just like this isn't just a hand, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, of course. It's just like,
It's power.
you know, it
think
says
maybe-
exit. Maybe we could get like, a calendar or something, like the amount of time it would take for a new set of characters and future aspirants to the throne, instead of, just blindly shooting inanimate objects with.
Just fucking hit the
Right.
thing, Koskov.
Oh, okay.
God damn it.
And then
Yeah, as
He kind of
Koskov
glances
hits,
at Thomas. Yeah.
as Koskov hits, Thomas will send channel energy and hit it as well.
Yeah. All right. Between the two of you, this earth-shattering power detonates in unison and ripples out across the chamber, coursing its way through the stone and splitting the throne almost cleanly in two, and the throne falls away to either side. And at that point, you realize that the museum itself, with this energy having run through it, feels as though collapse is imminent. This sort of, almost earthquake effect that Thomas and Koskov have just caused begins to move some of the masonry and rubble from this place as it begins to collapse in around itself, and these huge shards of concrete and marble begin to fall down around you guys. And Daedalus says, well, it's time to find a way back home for some of you. If you can make it back, I can try and send one of you back home. If you've got your own way, then good. If any of you want to stay, you can come with me. But it's forever. There's no going back then.
Thomas goes over to Jolene. He kind of leaps over and flies, and his wings kind of just go beside him, kind of around her, not touching, but just casually around her. And I think it's time for you to go back.
You're not gonna come back?
My place is here.
And she looks down to Coco and in his bucket and back at Thomas. He said that it's not magic and it's not important. It is, ordinary kind of things.
You humans, you're confusing, but there is something about you. My time on Earth, I guess it wasn't wasted. And he picks up Coco and hands it to her. And you're right. There are special qualities to ordinary things.
And I think that's why I should stay in Elysium. This place needs a little bit more ordinary, if you ask me.
Jolene, if you stay, you will die.
You know, if I go, I die, right? That's kind of how the world works.
Eventually, I guess, but you probably won't die as horrifically as you would here. And I cannot be around you all the time.
That's the thing though, Thomas. I didn't just upset Joe when I left. And with Joe gone, there's plenty more trouble waiting for me back there. I don't even know where Joe has gone. And she turns and she looks at Daedalus. Where did I send him?
In truth, I don't know. Maybe some dark memory of your own. Maybe somewhere where he can never be found. Maybe he's back on Earth. I don't know. Wherever it is, I don't think we'll be seeing him anytime soon. He's gone.
And you're gonna stay here?
It's where I belong. This is my place. Not this particular spot right here, but generally, yes. And as Daedalus said, they might try and build another throne. We gotta have someone to find and destroy that too.
It's only a matter of time. Someone's gotta be here.
And Jolene's gonna lean in and whisper something to Thomas, which I'll message Tom.
Okay.
And then she'll turn and she'll kind of look back to everybody else, seeing what everybody else is gonna decide.
So as the decision made, more stone begins to fall down around you, and Percy, you can feel the Percy side of you sort of faltering. The deal you've made is you give up yourself, and you're becoming more and more Koskov. There's not a whole lot of time for you left.
He internally just asks Koskov, please just send her back safely, and I will ask no more of you. He asked that internally, and then externally, my dear.
This whole time she's been kind of just looking between Percy and the spot where the inheritor got dragged through the floor and just clutching her where she'd have if she had a string of pearls. In typical Southern woman fashion, she'd be clutching them, but she does not. So, yes, Percy?
My dear, I don't even know how any of this got started or where it all went wrong.
I cannot remember for the life of me.
But I know that I love you, but I can't be with you. But you will be safe. And hopefully when you get back, you'll look in the front window of your little antique shop and there'll be a little train set there. Just waiting.
Percy, are you sure? There's no way you can... Is it... She kind of side-eyes Jolene a little bit. And
No. This is
back.
a decision of my own making. I did this for you. So you'd be safe. I do know that. And you will be safe.
I guess this is... Goodbye then, Percy. Tear rolls down her face. I loved you more than anyone else.
And I love you, my dear. And hopefully one day, on the other side of all this, we'll meet again.
I'm sure we'll meet again.
I'll prepare a place for you.
Maybe we won't have to wait that long.
maybe. And he just leans in to embrace Cassie. And then, like, the right fist just kind of comes up and punches a hole in reality. Just kind of pushes her back through it.
Yeah. And you watch as Cassie sort of disappears through this tear in the veil that Koskov, a man of honor, has created for her. And with that, Percy and Cassie are both gone in their own way. Vincent, Daedalus looks towards you. We spoke before about you staying, but I see that you have a way out of here. If you want it, I can help.
God damn it, I hate you all. You know, I just realized something. There's not a lot of stuff waiting for me down there. Just my lonely tarantula, which I wish I had the time to ask Miss Jolene or Cassie to at least feed her. Or tarantula's female or male. Anyway, doesn't matter.
Vincent, focused.
Yes. Okay, here's the thing. You've been here for a long time. I got a way out. How about this? You teach me how to run this place without chopping my head off, and you got a free ticket to return. Seems fair to me. Who would thought of this? You know, a thief, a criminal. Yes, please don't make me regret this. More than
You got shot for deal, pal.
yeah. So, let's do this. So, Russian guy, you coming with us?
Well, he kind of turns to Thomas. I like the cut of your jib. Perhaps we should go around, see the sights. I have not been in full pro form in quite some time.
Well, you certainly
lead the
are
way.
handy to have. And the four of us, and he looks at Jolene, we'll have a better chance together.
I'm imagining now that like maybe Thomas grabs all of you as the masonry is sort of tumbling all around you, and you've got these huge wings, and you can like scoop up the party and fly them out of this palace as it's crumbling down around you.
Yeah.
In the arms of an angel.
Down,
Quite good place.
and Koskov leans down to Jolene, and it's like,
We should go have that drink now.
In the arms of
I think so.
As Thomas kind of takes them to a safe distance and puts them down, he goes to Jolene. I'm gonna need that pocket watch. There's something I need to do.
And she looks apprehensive for a moment, but then pulls it out and offers it over to him.
Thank you. Now you go somewhere safe and I'll catch up. And he takes off and flies.
Where does he go?
He goes back to the ruin. He uses the watch.
Now, yeah.
He turns back time till the chair's up. Again, the throne. Then he goes up to it. It's time for a new world order. And sits down on it.
As Thomas sits on the rebuilt throne, Elysium has a new ruler, and the queen lifts her head up from the chair and looks straight towards Thomas. The two of them smile, and then both of them in unison look towards the camera. But that's Elysium. Because on Earth, something very different is happening. Cassie, you wake up in your bed. Percy's not beside you, but you're in your camper van and you think you're back home.
Right.
You remember everything that's happened.
Except for the memory that got crushed, probably. Yeah.
Right.
I don't remember how we got into it initially, but yeah. She will pull the mini blinds in the RV, see where she's at, see if she was in the same state, or if she's back in Mississippi, or because that was
Back in
weird.
Mississippi. Yeah. You're back home. You remember getting here, but like you say, you can't remember exactly how you got into all of that. Maybe it was just one very bad dream, but then you hear something coming from another part of the camper van. It's a low sort of whirring, like a zzz, 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 and a little rumble. It sounds almost electronic. You head into the room where the sound's coming from. And there before you, circling around itself very neatly, is a perfect train set. It's back where it belongs, and it's circling around quite happily, round and round.
I think she sees the train set, picks it up, takes it into the antique store, which I'm sure she's parked right next to, sets it in the front window, and then goes back to the back room where it's almost impossible to find anything, to her little bookshelf. Pulls out some tomes, of course, occult tomes, and gets to seeing if she can meet back with Percy sooner. She goes and reads next to the train set.
Perhaps in a dream. Because who's to say what's real and what's not when it comes to such matters? And as Cassie gets to reading and the train keeps going round and round, that's where we're going to end tonight's episode of Cult's Divinity Lost, and indeed, our season. Well played, everybody. Well played. I like to think that Percy and Cassie will find a way back to one another one day, but that's a tale for another day, I think. Whether or not their love can survive even the breaking apart of worlds, who knows? But a new world order is certainly on the way. This tale is definitely not yet fully finished. There is, I'm sure, plenty of mischief and chaos to come with Thomas and the Queen on the throne, but the rest of you eking out your lives in Elysium, things are about to take an unexpected direction. But as I say, that's the tale for another time, and whew! What a finale, my friends. It is always exciting to try and pack in that much chaos and action and try and finish everyone's stories and give yourself 3 hours to do it. But somehow, some way, we find a way each time with these finales. And it was a whole crazy adventure, so many twists and turns, so many great character moments and endings for everyone. Whew! Thank you guys in the chat for watching us tonight. Thank you for being with us for all of these crazy adventures in Cult Divinity Lost, and a big, big thank you to the creators of Cult Divinity Lost for sponsoring the show, for making it happen, for letting us tell this crazy, kooky adventure about 5 crazy people just trying to make it out there in a crazy world where who knows what's real. And if you haven't yet checked out Cult Divinity Lost, you really ought to go give it a look, just for the sake of Jolene, for the sake of Cassie, for Thomas's sake, for Percy's sake, for Vincent's sake. Go and check it out. Modiphius.net, you can get yourself a book also on their website as well. So just type in Cult Divinity Lost, you'll find your way there. Pick up a book, maybe try out some of your own adventures, deal with heaven and hell, deal with Elysium. Perhaps you guys can play through the next chapter of this adventure and let us know what happens. But it's been an absolute honor to get to MC for this campaign with these wonderful, wonderful people. So let's go around the cast and the crew. Did we enjoy ourselves? And where can we find you guys online? Let's start with Charlie. Great job tonight. How's that for you? And Jolene.
That was super fun. I had no idea where we'd all end up, who would end up on the throne. Didn't know that my good friend Tom would once again betray everyone. I don't know how I'm still shocked, but here we are. I'd like to think somewhere in Elysium there is now a coconut tree growing. And I'm sure it is a strange and dark kind of coconut tree, as the things in Elysium are always very strange and very dark. But this has been super fun, and I really enjoyed this strange and chaotic trip. And I'm really glad that we got to have the finale today. And I'm super excited because we've been announcing all week via trailers our new season, and I'm very excited for Tentacle Tuesdays that will be starting in September. And getting back to Call of Cthulhu with a few of the wonderful faces you see here and a few other faces. So the chaos and the twists and the turns will be continuing, and there will be tentacles. But yeah, shout out to Kult for sponsoring the show. The book is beautiful, and I will just keep waving it at you. I've loved getting to see some of the weird things in here, but I also happen to know from flicking through it, there's even weirder things in this book. So do go check it out. And go check out all their additional stuff, because they even come with like or you can buy a soundtrack, I think, that has a ton of ambient music, which is really great for tabletop stuff. So go and check that out as well. I mean, just look at this thing.
It's insane.
It's called the Crazed Dancer.
Yeah. It's fucking horrific. As are a lot of things in this book. Definitely, yeah. Like Johnny says, go check it out. Explore some of the weird mysteries and madnesses for yourselves, and let us know how they go. Oh boy, fantastic. Lindy, big episode for Cassie Sue. Great to have that closure. How was that for you?
Oh, it was so good. It was so good. I was so tempted to just, while everyone was fighting, just walk on up to the throne and sit my happy ass down. But I flipped a coin and I didn't do it. So, you're welcome, Tom. But that was a lot of fun. I think Cassie, dare I say, may have come out of this a somewhat, maybe slightly better person than she was before. Shocking. I never thought those words.
Is that a first for one of your characters? Does it get better?
No.
And not exponentially worse? And more cocaine addicted?
Okay, so cocaine heists were a lot of fun. Alright. Call of Cthulhu, Tentacle Tuesday. I'm excited about it. Maybe my next character will just start off complete awful. So then the only direction to go is up. We'll see. But yeah, you can find me online at LeftLoveLindy on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. I'm very excited for Call of Cthulhu next season. It's my favorite RPG system currently, so hype. But also, this is the very last week. Everything is kind of on hiatus, so back on my channel next week will be Mists of Ravenloft and Mondays in Exandria, because we've been off for a month, because I finally moved! I'm here! Yes!
Yeah! Awesome stuff. Fantastic. And as Lindy says, we'll be back in September for Tentacle Tuesday, and I will be back GMing some Call of Cthulhu, back with the good old team, the good old times, and maybe we'll play the trailer here on outro in case you guys haven't seen it on Twitter, and we can show you guys that. But awesome stuff. Let's go to Sam. Sam. Great episode for Vincent. Unexpected ending for him as well. He may have become a better person as well, maybe. How was that tonight for you and Vincent?
Who knows? So yeah, I just want to thank you, and everybody for making this possible. It just seemed like yesterday when I was a 30-year-old kid listening to Horror in the Orient Express and having a really good time with the antics of this group and the other guys. And it's just a bit surreal to actually participate for every time. And it's just awesome, and I love you all. Oh,
what did you say?
yeah. So enough of that. What is it called? Enough of that sentimentality. And I'm sure that now that everybody is in tears, my art will look better. So I would like to point out everybody towards my website, which is .com. You can follow me on Twitter at Paintagram and on Instagram at Sam Araya Art. Vincent is just one fun character to play. It just love it. Have to play the dumb guy. Not like I'm dumb in real life, right? Thank you.
Yeah.
Play what you know.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
Fantastic, Sam. It's been so great to have you with us, my friend. Definitely check out this talented guy. He plays himself down a lot, but he's absolutely fantastic. Check out our website. Check out his artwork. Oh, man, it's been fun. Let's jump over to Thomas in both senses. Tom, how was that tonight for you? And Thomas, clutching victory again at season end. Always
I mean,
stealing away. One of us.
Yeah. Well,
Greg wasn't here, so you had to. Right?
Well, exactly. Greg isn't here, so I've got to do it. No, it was good. I mean, the idea. I've always had kind of like that idea with the throne for quite some time, particularly when the switch came for when he turned into basically the angel again. And people assume that it's going to be bad. Who knows? He could be a good ruler. You know.
Yeah.
There are things that he's going to do. I mean, one thing that I was thinking
good
that would
tyrants. Let me tell you that.
Yeah. Would be like the veil around Cassandra is always somewhat weakened, so she can communicate with Percival a little easier. You know, little things like that. Jolene's got. I mean, the old tentacle's going to come through. It's fine. Jolene's going to have like a whole garden full of coconut trees. You know, it's fine. You know, there are some good things. I mean, sure, a few innocent people are going to get murdered by grotesque creatures as the veil weakens, but
right.
Stuff happens. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. Didn't expect the Koskov panel was fucking hilarious. I love that. It just came out of nowhere. That was great. And I just really enjoyed the story. It was a really good story. Great ending. And just went out with a bang. So I'm Redundant UK. You can find me on Twitch, Twitter, Redundant UK. Check me out. And I too will be part of the Tentacle Tuesday team. So you don't have to wait too long for some more Call of Cthulhu action.
There will be tentacles, my friends. There will be. That is an ironclad promise. Fantastic stuff, Tom. It's been great. But let us hand over to Pruitt, who's got a little something to say. Maybe Pruitt's been absolutely fantastic adventuring with you here in Kult, but also in all of the myriad of different locales, locations, times, time warps, monstrous devil places, and horrible holes that we've sent each other to. How was that tonight for you, my friend?
It was absolutely amazing. When I was handed the mummified fist of Koskov Romanovich, my first thought was like, I bet that he could probably break the Inheritor, but we're going to have to wait on that. And so I just kind of put it on my hip, and I didn't really say anything about it. It was just one of those things where you just have like a MacGuffin, and you're like, we need to save this till the time it's due. And I don't know, just the ability to warp one character from one game to another character to another game, and it completely makes sense within the meta narrative of Encounter Roleplay. I think kind of encapsulates and puts a nice final like little dot on the eye of the last hurrah here, and it's been absolutely amazing. The session this season has been awesome. I absolutely love this game. I want to play Kult again. It's so much fun. Everybody check it out, seriously. But yeah, these people y'all are just awesome. It's been an awesome season the whole time. And Will, Charlie, Tom, Lindy, we've played together many games, and thank you for bringing me in as part of the Encounter Roleplay family, and just the greater tabletop role-playing game community all. Thank you so much. This has been an absolute joy, but I'm going to have to take a little bit of a break, both for mental health, and also we got a lot of stuff coming down the pipeline for WebDM. which I will use this as the segue here in a minute. We got some stuff we have to do, and so I need more time, my more personal time to do writing, to do other things, because we want to give y'all some awesome shit. And everybody knows we were the stretch goal for 2C Gaming, so me and Jim are currently brainstorming ideas for the entertainment district of an epic level city, and so that's a lot of fun to do. But there are other things that I can't really talk about, but y'all will hear in the next few months. But you can always find me on Wednesdays, where we will release a video over on YouTube on WebDM. It was delayed today because of reasons I can't really say, but it will be out tomorrow, and it will be an episode on the rule of cool. So something that we use quite a bit over here, but check that out. Also, we still have our games on Twitch on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and there's that. Check us out on Patreon if you want a podcast. But I'm going to take a little bit of a time. I will be back at one point for sure, because there are more characters that I definitely want to play. And thank you everybody for everything. I love you all.
Yay! We're gonna miss you, Pruitt. We certainly are. It's not gonna be the same, but as we all know here at Encounter Roleplay, when it comes to stories like this, stories are never really quite over. There's always another chapter. There's always a time where Koskov will find his way back into a story, no doubt. At the very least, those stories will be with us forever in our hearts. But man, it's been so much fun. It's been an incredible ride. I cannot wait to see what you guys are getting up to. And you guys there in the chat and watching it should definitely keep an eye on all the good stuff the WebDM are up to, because they are fantastic and always coming up with exciting new stuff. So, man, this has been so much fun, a real honor, a real privilege every time I get to play with these guys, I have to say. So I'm really looking forward to the next season as well, where I get to return to Call of Cthulhu, back to the roots, back to some good old-fashioned tentacles. So to play us out today, we've got the trailer lined up. Yes.
Sorry. Before we wrap,
What have
let's
we
give
got?
away some dice, because we hit our
Let's give away
retweet
dice.
goal.
Yes, we did. And to one lucky winner there in the chat, we'll give away a set of dice. Where is the giveaway? It's been so long. There it is. Alrighty. All you have to do is type !loot into the Twitch chat, and one lucky winner will win a set of tabletop loot dice. So go get looting, my friends. So yes, well, we need 1 minute. I don't want 5 minutes on that. Damn it! All right, we'll pick the winner after the stream. Get your votes in now. I don't want to speak for another 5 minutes. Enjoy the teaser trailer. Tuesday, September 3rd, 2 p.m. Eastern is a new time for Tentacle Tuesdays. We'll see you there for the premiere in a couple of weeks' time. Until next time, my friends, try not to roll too many net ones. We want to be laughing when you do. Good night and farewell. Bye.